What if that quarter you dropped into a vending machine 40 years ago was actually worth $7,000 today? That's not a myth. That's a 1965 no-mint Mark Washington quarter, a coin so mysterious and rare, it's made everyday folks into accidental treasure hunters. Let me tell you a story. A retired Navy veteran in Ohio was rolling coins with his grandson one quiet Sunday afternoon. They were going through an old Folgers coffee can full of change, the kind most of us kept in the kitchen back in the day. He picked up a plain-looking quarter and paused. 1965, he muttered, feels different. He almost tossed it back, but something told him to hold on to it. After some research, and a little luck, he discovered it was one of the very few 1965 quarters accidentally struck on 90% silver planchets, a leftover from 1964. That single coin sold for over $6,800 at auction, from a coffee can to a collector's case. In 1965, the U.S. Mint officially stopped using silver for quarters and began producing them with a copper-nickel-clad composition. But, and here's where it gets juicy, a few silver blanks from 1964 were accidentally left behind and used in early 1965 production runs. These rare error coins have no mint mark, because at that time, mint marks were temporarily removed to prevent hoarding. That makes it harder to tell where they were made, but easier to miss something incredibly valuable. I know a woman in her 70s who found one in her late husband's coin drawer, shiny, smooth, heavy. She figured it was just another quarter and used it at the car wash. Gone, vanished, washed away, along with a small fortune. The truth is, millions of these coins were made in 1965, but only a few hundred silver ones exist. And most people never check. Before you spend your change, here's what to look for. Date must be 1965. No mint mark. Under Washington's neck, it should be blank. Weigh it. It should weigh 6.25 grams, not the usual 5.67 silver sound. Tap it. If it rings like a bell, not a dull thud, that's silver edge. Check. True silver quarters have a solid silver edge, not the copper sandwich strip. If you suspect you found one, don't clean it. Store it safely, then contact professional graders like PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate and certify its value. You can also bring it to a trusted local coin dealer for an initial look. You see, sometimes history doesn't sit behind museum glass, sometimes it jingles in your pocket, or hides in a dusty jar by the sink. That quarter your father tossed into the junk drawer, it could be the key to your next vacation, or your grandchild's college fund. What if the quarter you flipped to decide a childhood game could now be worth thousands of dollars? Yes, a plain old 25-cent piece, maybe sitting in your kitchen drawer right now, could change your life. Let me tell you about the mysterious 1966 no-mint Mark Washington quarter, and why collectors like me are still chasing it after all these years. Back in the 1970s, a retired schoolteacher named Ruth was cleaning out her late husband's fishing tackle box. She found a handful of old change he used for vending machines, including a 1966 quarter that felt off. No mint mark. Sharper edges. She tucked it away in a jar, more out of nostalgia than anything. Fast forward to 2017, Ruth's grandson, sorting through her old belongings, brought that jar to a coin shop. That single quarter, dull, dirty, and forgotten, was valued at over $3,000. Sometimes, the most valuable things in life are hiding in plain sight. Now here's what makes this coin so special. The 1966 Washington quarter was minted during a transitional time in U.S. coinage. Silver had just been removed from quarters in 1965, but here's where it gets strange. There are a few 1966 quarters that appear to be struck on leftover silver planchets, even though they were supposed to be copper-nickel. Add to that the fact that mint marks were temporarily removed between 1965 and 1967, so no D for Denver, no S for San Francisco. Just a clean, silent coin, with a story to tell. Some quarters from this era also have striking errors, doubled dies, or were minted on planchets meant for other coins entirely. That's why collectors keep their eyes peeled. A normal-looking coin could hide an extraordinary mistake. I once met a man at a coin show who told me, red-faced, that he'd tipped a waitress with a 1966 silver quarter, just weeks before he found out what it might have been worth. I thought it was just a heavy coin, he said. Heavy, like the regret that followed. how many rare quarters have been spent on gas station coffee, soda machines, or lost in couch cushions? Don't let that be your story. Here's how to know if you might have the quarter that collectors dream about. Date must be 1966, clean and bold. No mint mark at all, blank under the date. Check for weight. Silver planchets weigh 6.25 grams, versus 5.67 g for standard. A jewelry scale helps. Listen to the ring. Silver coins sound sharper when gently dropped on a hard surface. Look for striking errors, doubling on letters, missing details, or an off-center strike. Try a magnet. It shouldn't stick, but odd behavior can hint at unusual composition. If you think you found something special, don't guess, get it graded. Reach out to trusted names like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate and encapsulate the coin, preserving both its value and its story. Or visit a reputable local coin dealer. The good ones will tell you straight that we all have that one drawer, full of keys, tokens, coins from vacations past. Maybe you opened it for the memories, but you could close it holding a treasure. What if a simple quarter from 1967, one you might have carried to the corner store for bubble gum, could now be worth hundreds, or even more? And what if you already owned it, tucked away in a dusty drawer? My grandfather always kept a coffee can full of coins under the sink. Just in case, he'd say, tapping the lid with a wink. I never thought much of it, until the day I found a 1967 quarter with no mint mark, tucked beside a buffalo nickel and a tarnished wheat penny. Turns out, Grandpa wasn't just saving coins, he was unknowingly saving a piece of American history. Now here's what makes this particular quarter so special. In 1967, the U.S. Mint was in the middle of a coin crisis. Because of rampant coin hoarding in the early 60s, the Mint stopped using mint marks altogether between 1965 and 1967 to discourage collectors. So yes, all 1967 quarters were struck without a mint mark. But here's the twist, some 1967 quarters were struck using leftover or misaligned dies, or had rare striking errors like double dies or off-center strikes. Those rare error coins? They can fetch hundreds to even thousands of dollars today at auction. A woman in Ohio once used a rare 1967 quarter to buy a soda in 1983. That coin, had it been verified, could have covered her daughter's college tuition. Just imagine, a childhood coin lost to a vending machine, all for a cold drink. It's a reminder, these treasures often hide in plain sight, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. So, how do you know if you've got one of these valuable 1967 quarters? Look for these signs. Date must read 1967, no exceptions, no mint mark under, in God we trust. That's normal for 67. Look closely for doubling on Liberty or the date, a possible double die. Check the rim. Off-center strikes or unusual thickness can mean value. Flip it. Some rare versions have a die clash visible on Washington's profile. If you think you've got something special, don't guess. Get it professionally graded. Use trusted services like PCGS or NGC. You can also bring it to a certified coin dealer in your area. A small fee today could uncover a major treasure tomorrow. That old jar in your kitchen? The one that's moved with you from house to house, gathering dust? It might just hold your future, or a memory worth far more than 25 cents. What if that quarter you gave your grandson for bubblegum in 1971, is now worth hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars? Sounds like a tall tale, right? But buried in the drawers of old dressers, in cookie tins, and in forgotten coin jars, is a rare Washington quarter with a hidden story, and you just might be holding it. Let me take you back. It's the summer of 1983. A man named Harold in Denver, recently retired from the railroads, is cleaning out his late brother's belongings. Among the things, he finds a jar, just old quarters, it seemed. Out of habit, he rolls them up for the bank, but one quarter, dusty, tarnished, looks off. It's a 1971 Washington quarter, but something catches his eye. The details seem misaligned, and the mint mark? Strangely placed. He keeps it, forgets about it. Years later, Harold's grandson brings it to a coin show. It turns out that old pocket change was one of the rarest errors from the Denver Mint in the early 70s, worth over $1,000. And the saddest part? Harold had already turned in the rest of the JAR.so. What makes the 1971 D Washington quarter special? Most 1971 quarters are common, billions were made, but a very small number, especially from the Denver Mint, D mark, were struck with errors. Some were double struck, where the coin was hit twice by the die, others had off-center strikes, or die cracks, giving them unusual textures or shapes. A few even show missing details due to worn dies. In coin collecting, these are called mint errors. And they can turn a 25-cent piece into a $500 to $3,000 treasure depending on the flaw and condition. Too many folks, maybe even someone watching right now, have spent these coins at the gas station, given them to grandkids, or lost them to coin machines at laundromats. Just last year, a viewer wrote in. She remembered giving her son a strange-looking quarter from 1971 to use in an arcade. It didn't look right, she said. I almost kept it. She didn't. That same error coin sold at auction months later, for $150. Regret has a way of sneaking up on us, especially when it's sitting in an old jar, untouched for decades. Here's how you can spot a potential treasure in your own home. Look for the D mint mark, just below Washington's neck on the front. Double-struck images, off-center portraits, missing letters or odd textures, die cracks, tiny raised lines or splits. Even small quirks can mean big money. Think you've got something special? Send it to a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC, or take it to a reputable coin dealer, someone who specializes in error coins. Don't clean it. Don't polish it. Just protect it, and get it checked. You see, the past has a funny way of leaving us gifts. Maybe it's in your attic, maybe it's in that glass jar next to the cereal. Or maybe it's in your palm, right now. That old quarter your husband tucked away in 1971, it might just hold a piece of your story, and the future your family's been waiting for. What if a quarter you spent on a gumball in 1985 could pay for your entire month's groceries today? Sounds unbelievable, right? But hidden in old coffee tins, sock drawers, and dusty piggy banks across America is one coin, a seemingly ordinary 1979 D Washington quarter, that's become a quiet legend among collectors. And today, I'll tell you why. Let me take you back to the summer of 1994. A retired schoolteacher named Ruth was rolling coins from a mason jar her husband had kept since the 70s. Nothing fancy, just old change he'd brought home from the hardware store every week. One quarter caught her eye. It looked odd. The edges weren't quite right, and something about the shine felt off. She tucked it away out of curiosity. Years later, her grandson, a budding coin collector, found that same coin. Turns out, it was a rare 1979 D quarter with a unique minting error. It fetched nearly $3,000 at auction. Ruth had no idea her husband's pocket change could hold such a treasure. Now, here's what makes the 1979 D Washington quarter potentially valuable. Most 1979 quarters are only worth face value. But a select few struck at the Denver Mint, that's the D mark, have dramatic errors, like off-center strikes, double dies, or clipped planchets. Some have even been found struck on the wrong metal planchet altogether. These minting mishaps are rare, and collectors love them. Even without an error, high-grade, uncirculated 1979 D quarters, those kept in pristine condition since minting, can be worth hundreds today. Why? Because finding one in such flawless shape is like finding a needle in a haystack. I met a man at a flea market last year who told me he'd once used a shiny 1979 D quarter to pay for a soda at a gas station back in 2003. Said it looked too nice to spend, but he did anyway. He found out years later that it could have been worth over $2,000 because of a rare die rotation. That's the kind of mistake that haunts a collector's heart, and makes you wish you'd look just a little closer. Want to see if you've got a hidden gem in your home? Here's what to check: double striking, blurry or doubled letters/numbers, off-center image, clipped or oddly shaped edges, wrong metal, heavier or lighter than usual. Condition matters. Uncirculated or extremely clean coins are worth much more. If you think you've got something special, don't guess. Get it professionally graded by PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. These folks can tell you exactly what it's worth, and even help you sell it to serious collectors. Your local coin dealer can often help too, but make sure they're reputable and experienced with error coins, that dusty jar in the pantry, your father's old change drawer, the coins you almost gave away. They might be more than just metal. They might be memories worth thousands, because history doesn't always sit behind glass in a museum. Sometimes, it jingles in your pocket. Subscribe to Timeless Treasures, where we help you find history hiding in plain sight, and remember, every coin has a story. Maybe it's time to discover yours. What if that dusty old quarter you gave to the ice cream man in 1982 could have paid for a luxury vacation today? That's not just wishful thinking. Because one ordinary-looking coin, a 1980 Washington quarter with a P mint mark, is turning up in collections, pockets, and forgotten drawers, worth far more than face value. And the story behind it? Well, it's the kind of tale only time and mystery could write. Let me take you back to 1997. A retired Navy mechanic named Frank Whitmore was sifting through an old coffee can of change he'd kept since the 70s. It wasn't about money, it was memories. The coin jar sat next to his father's war medals, his son's high school football pins, and a worn key that didn't open anything anymore. As he sorted through the coins, some dull, others nearly polished smooth, one quarter caught his eye. 1980, it had a strange shine. The edges looked off. He didn't know it then, but that small glimmer of silver and copper would one day become a centerpiece in a private collection, auctioned for nearly $4,000. And here's the kicker, Frank only noticed it because he loved the way the eagle looked on the back. Now let's talk about why this 1980 P Washington quarter might be one of the most overlooked gems in American coinage. Most quarters from 1980? They're pocket change. But a small batch minted in Philadelphia, marked with a subtle P, had a rare error or striking anomaly. These can include double dies, where the image is slightly duplicated due to a misalignment, off-center strikes, or a minting flaw that created an almost proof-like finish on a coin never meant for collectors. These quirks, when authenticated, can turn a 25-cent coin into a collector's jackpot. You know the saddest part? People spend these every day, completely unaware. One collector told me he saw a rare strike just like this one used to buy a candy bar at a gas station in Ohio. The cashier had no idea. Neither did the man who spent it. That's the thing with history, it doesn't always wear a crown. Sometimes it jingles in your coat pocket, and slips away before you ever realize what you had. Here's how you can tell if you've got the valuable 1980 P quarter hiding at home. Date must be 1980. Look for the P mint mark, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Flip it over, study the eagle. Any doubling of letters or feathers, a shiny, mirror-like surface, an off-center rim or misshaped edge. Those are your clues. If you spot something unusual, don't guess, get it graded by a reputable service. Like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. Or visit a certified coin dealer, not the pawn shop down the road, but someone who knows their mint marks from their Morgan dollars. Your past speaks louder than you think. That old jar in your kitchen? It might just hold your future. A forgotten coin could be your unexpected treasure, a piece of American history, slipped between memories. So, before you toss that next quarter into a vending machine, take a second look. What if a quarter in your junk drawer, yes, just 25 cents, could be worth thousands today? One coin. One mistake at the mint. And one incredible story. Let me take you back to 1999. A retired postman named Earl was going through his late wife's keepsake box, you know the kind, filled with birthday cards, old buttons, a dusty Polaroid of their wedding day, and there, taped inside a card from 1983, was a Washington quarter. He almost tossed it into a coin roll, but something felt different. The edges were odd. The coin felt lighter. Earl kept it, framed it even, calling it our lucky coin. Years later, a friend who collected coins visited, took one look, and gasped. Earl wasn't holding just a memory. He was holding history. So, what made Earl's 1983 P Mint Washington quarter so special? In 1983, the U.S. Mint didn't release uncirculated sets to the public, which means most quarters from that year were heavily used and worn down in circulation. But here's the kicker, some 1983 quarters, especially from the Philadelphia Mint, marked with a P, were struck off-center, on the wrong planchet, or with weak strikes. And a few have a sharp strike with full, step details, on Washington's hair and face, making them incredibly rare in high-grade. In pristine condition, these can fetch $1,500 to $7,000 plus at auction. One heartbreaking story still sticks with me. A woman in Ohio found one in her son's old dresser, but thought, just another quarter, and used it in a vending machine. That soda? Probably tasted fine, but it cost her over $5,000. Once it's gone, it's gone. Mint mark, P, located just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Look for sharp details, especially on the hair and face. No scratches, discoloration, or heavy wear. Higher quality equals higher value. Some rare error versions are off-center or struck on the wrong metal planchet. Think you have one? Don't guess, get it checked. Reach out to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, or visit a reputable coin dealer. A $20 evaluation could save you from spending $2,000 by mistake. That old jar in your kitchen, the one filled with loose change from years past, road trips, birthdays, or quiet Sunday mornings, it might just hold your future. Subscribe to Timeless Treasures, where memories become money, and history hides in plain sight. Don't miss the next treasure. It could already be in your pocket. What if a dusty old quarter from 1984 could be worth thousands today? That's right, one simple Washington quarter, the kind you probably flipped on a diner counter or lost behind your couch cushions, could hold a hidden treasure. But only if you know what to look for. Let me take you back. It's 1984. The Summer Olympics light up Los Angeles, Ronald Reagan's in the White House, and gas costs just over $1 a gallon. Somewhere in Denver, a batch of quarter dollars is being struck, quickly, efficiently, like millions of others, but in the middle of all that routine, something went wrong. Or perhaps, something went just right. Decades later, an elderly man named Harold in Nebraska finds a small, dusty coin jar while cleaning out his late wife's sewing room. Inside? Mostly pennies, a few dimes. And then, a quarter with something odd. He almost spends it. Instead, his grandson posts a photo online. A collector sees it. Offers $1,800. Turns out, Harold had been sitting on one of the most mysterious errors from the 1980s mint. So what makes the 1984 Washington quarter so special? It's not just the year, it's the error. A rare double die obverse, meaning the front of the coin, Washington's profile, was accidentally struck twice, slightly misaligned. Some show doubling in the word liberty, or around the date, 1984. These are highly sought after, and if that doubling is crisp and uncirculated, collectors will pay handsomely. But here's the kicker, there's no official record of how many made it out of the mint. Which means they're hiding in plain sight, maybe even in your change drawer. I once spoke to a woman who told me, with tears in her eyes, that she remembered a strange-looking quarter her husband used to carry in his fishing jacket. Had some funny letters, she said. After he passed, she gave his old change to the cashier at a thrift store. 2 months later, that exact quarter turned up at auction. Sold $4 to $400. Sometimes, the past slips through our fingers before we realize how much it meant. Date must be 1984. Look for a D mint mark right next to Washington's ponytail doubling. Check the words Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, and the date. Condition matters. The clearer the doubling, the higher the value. Uncirculated coins fetch much more, even lightly worn ones are worth checking. Found one? Don't guess, get it authenticated. Reach out to trusted graders like PCGS or NGC, or visit a reputable coin dealer. Never sell to someone who won't let you get a second opinion. That little jar in your kitchen, the one your grandkids call old junk, it might just be holding your legacy. Coins are more than currency, they're time capsules. Silent witnesses to your story, your era, your moments. So go check that change. And if you want help finding the treasures hiding in your own home, subscribe to Timeless Treasures. We help you find history, hiding in plain sight. What if I told you a simple quarter from 1986, the kind you might have tossed in a gumball machine, could be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars today. And the craziest part? You might already have it sitting in a dusty jar in your kitchen. Let me take you back to a small town in Pennsylvania, fall of 2021. An elderly man named Walter, retired steelworker, widower, a man who spent Sundays flipping through his old coin albums, walked into a local antique show. He wasn't expecting much. Just wanted to relive a little nostalgia, but as he emptied his pockets at one booth, an old 1986 quarter slipped from his coin purse. The dealer's eyes widened. Not because of the shine, but because of a faint, almost ghostly doubling on the obverse. A rare strike. An error. That quarter, a humble 1986 P. Washington quarter, was no ordinary change. It would later be graded and sold for nearly $2,000. Walter? He said he almost spent it the week before on a gas station hot dog. So what made Walter's quarter, and others like it, so valuable? It wasn't made of gold. It wasn't ancient, but it had something far rarer, a mysterious minting flaw. Some 1986 P quarters were struck with double dies, especially around Washington's eye, the word liberty, or the date itself. Others came with unusual off-center strikes, or clashed dies, signs of rushed production at the Philadelphia Mint that year, and while millions of 1986 quarters were made, very few with these errors were ever found. Most ended up in registers, pockets, or got lost forever. I still remember the woman from Tallahassee who wrote to me last spring. Her late husband had collected coins, nothing fancy, just pocket change he kept over the years. After he passed, she donated most of it, including a jar of quarters, to a church rummage sale. Weeks later, a collector found 3 rare 1986 P errors in that same jar, worth nearly $3,500 total. She never got them back, and she told me, "I wasn't upset about the money. I just wish I'd looked closer." Those coins were part of him. Here's how you can check if you've got the rare 1986 P Washington quarter. Look for a P mint mark, Philadelphia, just above the R in quarter. Focus in on Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, and the I of Washington. Look for doubling. Check for off-center strikes, or any odd impressions or clashing on both sides. Flip it, feel the texture. Some errors appear smoother or misaligned due to the flawed strike. If you spot something unusual, don't clean it. That kills the value. Instead, visit PCGS or NGC online and submit for professional grading, or bring it to a reputable coin dealer or local coin show. Many offer free evaluations. Trust your instincts. If it looks odd, it's worth checking. We all have that drawer, that jar, that shoebox of forgotten change. It's more than just metal, it's history, memory, legacy. That 1986 quarter? It might be the last whisper of a loved one. Or the surprise gift you never knew you had. So go take a look, because sometimes, the most ordinary things turn out to be extraordinary treasures. What if I told you that a simple quarter from 1987, the kind you might have used to buy bubblegum, could now be worth thousands? Yes, the same kind of coin you tossed into vending machines or left in your dad's change bowl. Today, we're going to talk about the 1987 D Washington quarter, and why it could be the most overlooked treasure in your old coin jar. Let me tell you a story. In 2019, a retired veteran from Colorado was cleaning out an old cigar box that once belonged to his late father. It was filled with dusty coins, most of them ordinary, but one caught his eye. It was a 1987 quarter. D mint mark. Worn, but something felt different. He took it to a local coin show on a whim. That same quarter, which had sat in his attic for decades, sold for over $3,000 on the spot. Turns out, it was a rare mint error. One of just a handful known to exist. Now imagine, how many of us had one just like it in our pockets back in the day. So what's the deal with the 1987 D Washington quarter? The Denver Mint struck millions of these in 1987, but a small number were minted with significant errors, like off-center strikes, double dies, and even missing clad layers. Most people overlooked these defects, spending them as pocket change. But to collectors, those mistakes are pure gold. In particular, some 1987 D quarters feature a missing mint mark, a copper core exposed on both sides, or a misaligned die strike, causing the image to shift dramatically. And when these surface in pristine or high-grade condition, The value can skyrocket. Let me ask you something. Ever give your grandson a few quarters for the arcade back in the 90s? One woman in Oklahoma did. Turns out, one of those quarters was a rare 1987 D-era coin. She found out decades later when she saw a photo online. It matched exactly what she remembered giving away, too late. That coin was long gone. The person who found it sold it at auction $4.2750. That's why this matters. These little things, so easily forgotten, could hold real value, not just in dollars, but in memories. Here's what to check if you think you have one. Look for the D mint mark, just next to Washington's ponytail, off-center images, faded or missing lettering, copper core showing through, doubled letters, especially Liberty or In God We Trust. Flip the coin, look closely at the reverse, the eagle side. Any irregularities there are worth investigating. Not sure if your coin is the real deal? You can send it to reputable grading services like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate it and give it an official grade. Or take it to a trusted local coin dealer for a quick evaluation. But whatever you do, don't just spend it. Not yet. You see, coins aren't just metal, they're memories frozen in time. That 1987 D quarter might have passed through your dad's hands, sat in your first car's ashtray, paid for a soda on your first date, and today, it could be worth something far greater than face value. So before you empty that old drawer, before you roll up those coins for the bank, take a second look. That small piece of your past might just hold your future. What if the quarter you gave your grandson for candy in 1997 is now worth hundreds, even thousands, and you never knew? That's right. One humble Washington quarter, specifically from 1997 with a tiny D mark beneath the date, has sent collectors and sentimental hearts alike into a frenzy. Let me tell you a story. It was the spring of 2019. A retired railroad worker named Harold in Wichita was sorting through an old coffee tin he'd kept since the late 90s. Full of quarters, dimes, and pennies from his grandson's lemonade stand days. He wasn't looking for treasure. He was chasing a memory, but among the worn coins, one quarter caught his eye. It had a strange texture. Something felt off. He held it up to the light, and it shimmered oddly around the rim. That coin? A 1997 D Washington quarter. The very same coin we're talking about today. It later sold for $431, because of a rare mint error. But that's not even the most valuable version. So what makes some 1997 D Washington quarters so valuable? It's not just the date, it's what went wrong when it was made. Some coins from the Denver Mint in 1997 were struck on the wrong metal planchets, typically meant for foreign coins or earlier designs. Others have misaligned dies, doubling in the words Liberty or In God We Trust, or even partial collars, causing a railroad rim effect. These are not just worn-out quarters. They're accidental masterpieces, and here's the kicker, they still look mostly normal to the untrained eye. I once met a widow at a flea market who'd been selling her late husband's coin collection for $1 a piece. She smiled warmly when I pointed out she had two 1997 D-era quarters, but her face fell when I told her what they could have fetched at auction. She had already sold one just hours earlier, for 25 cents. Don't let that be your story. Want to check if you have a 1997 D treasure? Here's what to look for: double letters in Liberty or In God We Trust, a misaligned or off-center strike, a thicker or odd-colored rim, possible wrong planchet. Feel the weight, it should be 5.67 grams. If it's noticeably lighter or heavier, it could be struck on the wrong material. If something looks unusual, don't guess, send it to PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, or visit a trusted local coin dealer, preferably one with ANA accreditation. You know, that old jar in your kitchen, the one that sat there since your kids were young. It might just hold a piece of history. It might just hold your future. Don't throw it in a vending machine. What if the quarter you used to buy bubble gum in 1998 is now worth hundreds, maybe even thousands, of dollars? Yes, a simple Washington quarter from your change jar, one with a little P under the date, could be one of the rarest mistakes in modern coin history, and it's sitting, forgotten, in countless drawers across America. Let me take you back to the late 1990s. Maybe you remember it. Gas was $1 a gallon, folks were lining up for the newest Beanie Babies, and your pockets jingled with quarters from every corner of the country. An older gentleman named Walt, Vietnam vet, retired postman, was rolling up coins for his granddaughter's college fund. Just your average afternoon in suburban Ohio. He sets aside a shiny quarter, looks at it again. Something about it feels off. The eagle's feathers seem just slightly blurred, the details not quite crisp. He tosses it in a keepsake box, thinking nothing of it. Fast forward 20 years, his granddaughter is grown, and that odd little coin? It turns out to be one of the most mysterious mint errors ever struck in the US. This isn't just any 1998 Washington quarter with a P mint mark, minted in Philadelphia. Some of these coins were accidentally struck using the reverse die meant for the 1999 Delaware state quarter, even though the obverse still shows good ol' George Washington from 1998. Yes. A 1998 obverse, struck with a 1999 reverse die. A transitional error that never should have happened. This oddity is known among collectors as the 1998 P transitional error quarter, and it's real. And it's rare. PCGS has authenticated several, and their value? It can range from $300 to over $1,000, depending on condition, but here's the thing, most people spent them, never knowing what they had. I knew a man, Hank, worked his whole life in the mills. Saved every quarter he got. But in 2003, during hard times, he cashed in his coin jar. Over 2,000 quarters, and yes, we later found out one of them was the 1998 P transitional error, gone. For 25 cents, that single coin could have paid his winter heating bills, twice. Now you might have one too. Here's what to check: date must be 1998, not 1999. Look for the P mint mark, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Flip the coin. Is the reverse side missing the word Delaware, but still looks like a state quarter eagle? That's your clue. Check the design details. Blurred feathers, slight misalignment, or odd spacing could mean something rare. Don't guess, get it checked. You can submit your coin to trusted graders like PCGS or NGC, or bring it to a reputable local coin dealer. Always research before sending it off. There are good folks out there, and a few shady ones too. That old coin jar in your laundry room, that dusty coffee tin in your dad's garage, it could be holding your piece of American history, and maybe even your next vacation. We're not just talking about money here. We're talking about memories. About legacy. About a time when coins told stories, and those stories still whisper. If you know how to listen, subscribe to Timeless Treasures, where we help you find history hiding in plain sight. And don't forget, check your change, because the past might just be worth a whole lot more than 25 cents.